Hello and welcome to the Satish Jha show. Let's talk about the nature of political discourse, the way we see in our great country. In the past few months, what we have been noticing is that every coming week or fortnight, it takes one of the lower places in the way we want our political discourse to progress. We recently heard what we call Pradhan Sevak, the prime servant of India, the Prime Minister as we call him. And I would like to always remind us, the Prime Minister as a word sounds good when this person reports to an emperor or a king. But when you actually are accountable to Parliament, Prime Minister doesn't really make sense. That said, the position is called Prime Minister, who calls himself Pradhan Sevak, which means the servant in chief, so to say. And that's a great way to look at himself. There's no question about that. That's how they should look at themselves. If only other ministers could see the same way, that would be great. But they should also behave the same way. Right now is a question of political discourse. And our Pradhan Sevak has found a great comrade in the Chief Minister of UP. Now, UP is about 1/5 or 1/6 of India. So if you see from that point of view, the power of the Chief Minister of UP, if it was a vibrant economy, would be really huge. If it was going to be a country, and China and India were one, or China and India are of the same level. So if you take China, India, USA, it will be the 4th largest population group in the world. Bigger than Russia, bigger than any other country, Brazil, or whatever. So that's the kind of power Uttar Pradesh could be, but it is not, because its per capita income is 60,000 rupees, which is well below any poverty index. So basically, if you see, the whole state on an average is below poverty line, completely covered this way. And a chief minister of that state, of course, if your incomes are low, your education quality is non-existent, so your discourse is not going to be very sophisticated. But in the case of Yogi Adityanath, it has taken a new dimension altogether. It has crossed the lines of what we consider civil society, civilized society, or a constitutional framework we may have had in mind, or something we expect from a state where we had some great universities at time. Abba, Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya, Lucknow, Agra. These were at one time very, very good universities. And they produced some of the pioneering civil servants and scholars and poets and others of India. And in that land, we find finally a chief minister who is creating a narrative which by any standard is far from civilized. Think of it this way. Yogi called at one time that his opponent, he calls his father Abbajaan. Now you understand the meaning of that, because what he's saying is that they belong to another religion, or they support another religion, or they are followers of a different kind of group, or they exist because of minorities, whatever you take away from that. But basically what he's doing is dividing a great nation into two religions. Those who call their father Abba, or something else. Now you can see there's an attack line here, which basically, how does the communication take place? How does an ordinary man like Narendra Modi become the leader of the nation? Because he's talented. He knows how to communicate. His message reaches people. He's able to reach people's hearts. You and I talk, and we only communicate with just a few people who like us. But when a man like Modi communicates, he reaches out to people as a nation, to millions and millions of people. What is it that he does? Because communication is not just the words that we speak. It's about the way we speak, the way our faces, the way our words, voices, the way people see us, the image that we carry. It's a whole host of unknown factors that goes in a moment to create an image. based on our conversation. It's not just the words, but words play a very, very important role right there. And Yogi understands that very, very well. And he has followed his master, Narendra Modi, in learning quite a few lessons from him. And he basically, what he's doing is he's leveraging that. So by calling Abbajaan for Samajwadi party and then complaining that these are the guys, they basically take the ration, they rob you of their ration, and then they come for wasuli in a jhola, these kind of the kind of collection that the mafia will collect in whether in New York or Sicily or anywhere else or Bombay, whatever. And then they take all this ration, take it to Nepal and Bangladesh and sell it. And this is the kind of narrative Yogi has been trying to create about the government which was before him and which looks like has created some momentum in this election and stands a chance to beat him this time. So he's created a narrative where you think of Samajwadi party as propped up by those who call their fathers Abba, or basically Muslims. Now, which may not be true because whatever Muslims have their own 14, 15 to 20% Muslims, they are divided. They just don't vote for Akhilesh. They also vote for Mayawati. They vote for Owaisi. They vote for other parties. They are also citizens. They are human beings. They don't vote as a bloc. But those who wins their confidence as a group, even if half of them vote in one side, it can obviously impact, and that's what the meaning of election is. So there's nothing wrong with that. And but he tried to divide that by using these words. It should be effectively not acceptable, legally, constitutionally. But at this point in time, double engine sarkar doesn't mean twice the vikas. Double engine means no possibility of indicting the chief minister even if he makes a mistake. Double engine means that I back you up no matter what your crimes or misdeeds. That's what double engine has come to mean. So that was just one episode. Then you heard of that 80-20. Now, of course, he tried to say 80 is governance and development and 20 is those who don't believe in it. But again, the population of Hindus in Uttar Pradesh is about roughly 80%. Minorities roughly 20%. Again, he created an image of Hindu-Muslim divide. Something totally unacceptable. But that's what he's doing. And there's no one to prosecute him because the center, the double engine, is there to protect the culprit, the criminals, no matter what. So double engine has been used in a very different way. Modi, when he says he's trying to create image that together they can do more. But reality is together they have actually supported the crimes of the state at a level unthinkable, unheard of before. And they have used that model to punish the opponents, not the crime or the criminal, just the opponents. And as you know, state has the capacity to invent. And now, even if you say, for instance, in the case of Abbajaan Khan, now people will say, well, there must have been some Bollywood-style bribery, etc. That's why it's been hushed up. Because the indictment has already happened in the minds of people. Majority of people. That's how the messaging is done, basically. And that's why the discourse is very, very important. How do we have a political discourse? I'm not saying America is doing any better at this point in time. In the past 5 years, what's happened to America is equally reprehensible. But how do we do that? It's become vitiated. How do we handle that? How do you manage it to bring it back to the civilizational place where it was just 5 years ago, which was not a great place to be, but at least it was a place from where you could progress. But now we have regressed in the US as well. So something is happening all around. Now think of this way. I was glad that Vijayan, the Chief Minister of Kerala, responded to that. I think Omar Abdullah also responded. Maybe Mamta also did. When Yogi said, if you vote for the opposition, you're going to turn UP into Kashmir, Kerala or Bengal. He didn't realize that it could just backfire because Kashmir is one of the most beautiful places that we have talked about. Kerala is one of the best governed states. For the last 40, 50 years, it's been known for universal education. Quality is another matter. They've been trying to improve it. But whatever it is 100%. And the health system is such that on every index worldwide, they remain on the top with all the countries. Forget about just the state of India. So that is Kerala. And Bengal, whenever I think of Bengal, what images do you get? I can share with you what I get. I think of Amartya Sen, I think of Jagdish Bose, Subhash Bose, I think of Satyajit Ray, I think of Rabindranath Tagore, I think of many others. That's the kind of, I look at Bengal as France of India in some ways. In science and creativity, in literature, in art and culture, they became a very important, you can say, magnet or center or a kind of a whole culture that can't be replicated easily anywhere. So if Uttar Pradesh became like Kashmir, beautiful like Kashmir, well-governed like Kerala, and creative like Bengal, that would be a great spot. So maybe inadvertently, Yogi Adityanath has told you, I can't govern, but maybe you can ask my opposition to take you to those places. I would read it that way. I don't quite know if that's how people are reading, but that's what I would think should be the logical outcome of this. But I also think of it this way. Yogi has been accusing the opposition party of being Ghazwa-e-Hind, having Talibani soch, having Mazhabi Unmad. These are the kind of words which actually fit BJP the best. They are the ones who have the passion for religion like no one else that we have seen in the country. They are the ones who are talking about Talibani thinking, which basically means that those who are not like us, they don't belong here. That's basically what BJP has been saying. That's what BJP said in CAA. Basically, so many people got hurt, jailed. We heard about those big jails being created for them. We don't know what's happened to it all because it's just got off the media circuit. But as of now, hopefully not much is happening, because if it were, hopefully somebody will make noise and we'll get to hear that. But these are the kind of things that Yogi thinks, not the opposition. So Ghazwa-e-Hind, the Talibani soch and Mazhabi Unmad or whatever, basically all that, these are the kind of words that they're half Urdu and half Hindi. And though Yogi is quite consummate in Sanskrit, Sanskritized Hindi, to see him utter these words is also very interesting. At least he knows his Urdu at this level of creating discord. Then, of course, we can't forget the fact that our wonderful Pradhan Sevak, the chief servant in chief of the nation, he decided that cycle, which is something we all use, will be portrayed as a symbol of terrorism. All because in Ahmedabad, the city where he was once close to as Chief Minister of Gujarat. In that city, one bombing took place at hundreds of places, and all the bombs were placed on bicycles. That image he tried to create, that cycle is about terrorism, but luckily, hopefully, we all have used bicycles. Hopefully, we will not think of bicycles as a tool of terrorism. But that's what he tried to do. In other words, that's how they're trying to change the discourse of a civilized place. In 8 years, it has come down. And it keeps coming down. It seems to know no bottom. And that has to be stopped. And we just can't take it as a state of our nation, but we have to accept consistently deteriorating conversational quality in politics. We need to come together and talk about it, and in such a way that whatever these great leaders, communicators, they intend, we don't let that come true. We make sure that we understand what the motive is, and we make sure that we get the most of it, we get the best of it. With that, I take your leave until the next episode. Thank you very much. Bye.